Banko Beverage. Proudly serving the Lehigh Valley for over 80 years. It's 80 years. Say it with me. 80 years. It's a long time. Over 30 plus breweries distributed, including Miller, Yuengling, Pabst, Guinness, Heineken, plus a generous variety of imported and specialty brands. They are located at Crackersport Road in Allentown, PA. Can't get any more local than that, Lehigh Valley. Banko Beverage is locally owned, operated since 1933. They have an exceptional team of staff dedicated to making their customers happy. If you're interested in having Banko be your purveyor for whatever bar or establishment you own, you can go to www.bankobeverage.com. I have the information in the ads as well, and I want to thank Banko for coming on and being a sponsor. Myself and Tony are working on some projects, and we are going to be bringing some really cool content, as well as Banko is going to be providing for a lot of the things that we do event-wise. So thank you, Banko, again. Thank you, Tony, and check out Banko Beverage. The Curious Plantaholic. Located in Nazareth and Clinton, New Jersey. The Nazareth location was opened first, and I met Jenny. We immediately hit it off. I knew we would start working on projects. She is the energy and the breath of fresh air that Nazareth needs. I started buying plants off of her, went down a rabbit hole. Now I got a bunch of plants I got to take care of. I'm trying my hardest. People are helping me. What an awesome shop for plants, retail. The energy in there is amazing. The employees in there are amazing. It's a plant and supply store focused on connecting with local communities, and boy, do they do a fantastic job at that. I can't say enough about these guys. You need to go to their locations and check them out, but they also have plants for sale online. It's CuriousPlantaholic.com, and right now they have 2 locations, which is Nazareth, and the other one is Clinton, New Jersey. Please check them out, and you can get more information at CuriousPlantaholic.com. I'm going to be working with Jenny on some other projects as well, so you will see us kind of creating a vibe and some things going on in Nazareth. We're really going to help kind of revitalize and get some things going on in Nazareth. So if you want to, please check out the Curious Plantaholics in Nazareth. Support local, support us. They support the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on as a sponsor. All right, Never Again Radio. I have no clue what episode this is. We're blowing clouds.
Let's go.
Welcome to Never Again Radio, man. How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I always like to peel back where I met people. You were getting tattooed at Stacy's shop.
Yes, it was.
I don't even know how old we would have been. 20, 22?
I was probably 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then our paths always crossed, and we would run into each other. And then, when I started getting into this, and then just kind of getting into businesses, and then, you develop a craft of interviewing, and then you can kind of start storytelling on who people are, which is what this podcast has turned into. I thought it would be so cool to pull back the layers and the legacy and the story behind everything that your family has going on. When did you start realizing what your family business was?
So, I mean, being a kid, I grew up in it, like literally, So my parents would take me there all the time. Grew up in the company, knew everyone. It was I took it for granted as a child.
Pull that a little bit closer.
Gotcha.
Not much.
I took it for granted as a child. But then once I became of working age, I started to realize what was really going on. And then I got a job at when I was 15. I got a job at Palmer Pool, which is a local pool, Palmer Township, that I ended up getting fired from. And then
was that your first job?
That was my first job.
Yeah. Lifeguard?
No, I was flipping burgers.
Nice.
Don't ask me how you get fired flipping burgers. But anyway, that's another podcast. So from there, my parents and grandfather weren't too happy that I got fired. So I ended up with my first job at Banko Beverage, which was clearing all the 50 years of overgrown weeds off the fences, which took me from June to August of a whole entire summer, 8 to 10 hours a day. And then from there, I went back to school.
Did you mind that work? Was it something where you were like, I'm not working for the family business, all we do is pick weeds? Or was it you just didn't mind the hard work?
Bro, we grew up in the 80s and the 90s, you know what I mean?
Work.
Yeah, we didn't really... I mean, people bust balls because I grew up, with a family business and stuff like that. But My dad grew up on Washington Street in Easton. He didn't have much. His parents were immigrants, you know, and his dad came from a family of 10, World War II veteran. He became the police chief of Easton later on. So my dad didn't have it easy. You know, my mom grew up in the Banko family business, but my dad came from the complete opposite side of the tracks, you know. So he never allowed me to fall into, like, let's say a cozier lifestyle or being a spoiled brat, you know what I mean? Like, and then as I got older, when I was a very young kid, he contracted cancer when I was 2 years old and lost his arm. So from that moment on, I like wasn't allowed to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? Like if I looked at him and asked for help, he would look at both my hands. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you got two hands. You better go figure something out. So, cutting the weeds and shit. I just saw that as, you know, I got fired because I was a little asshole, you know, and then I had to pay my penance, you know. So I went back to school, came back, and they didn't take it easy on me again. Now I was in charge of like the truck wash.
What'd you go to school for?
No, so I'm talking about, this is high school. So we're still talking high school.
Nice.
So now I go back to school, come back the next summer, and they put me in like the truck wash / gas station that was down the hill from Banco at the time. And once again, I was just the bitch, you know. I'm like cleaning up gas spills. I'm going in like the pit underneath the truck wash, clean up all this dirty shit, oil, rubbish. Like,
how did the guys who work there treat you?
Like shit.
Yeah.
Like I was like the fucking, like I was the owner's kid, you know. I was all types of things except Tony. You know what I mean? I was everything except my name. You know what I mean? And they never any chance, any opportunity they had where I would fumble any type of balls. You know what I mean? My balls got busted immediately. You know. So, but then. After doing all those steps, I was a bitch. And then once I turned 18, I went from being the Banco gopher ground boy to they just threw me right on the trucks. And once they threw me on the trucks, I really started to see what was going on there and how much product was moving and the extent of where it went and how many counties we covered, how many people we serviced, how many people's lives were impacted positively and negatively by my product. You know what I mean? And it just made me realize the magnitude of it all. And that got me really hyped up for it because I saw what my potential obviously could be if I took it serious. Yeah. You know?
It's got to be weird to work up. I mean, well, one, it's so great that you working up through anything will give you a perspective on every level of it. So then when you want or you get to be higher, you understand on how everything works. So that was actually huge that you even worked from picking weeds all the way up to driving the trucks. And then you have the respect of the other people who you worked with, but then at the same time, you know their job, then you know how to facilitate everything because every single part of it works together. There's not one part that's just going and not
And
working.
Just like every industry, you know, there's subtle nuances that constantly change, but as long as you, like you said, starting from the bottom and gaining that perspective of everyone that works in the company from eye level, you're able to help facilitate for them things that are better in the future that can work for the whole company, but also for an individual in a certain position that might not be at the top of the company, you know, might be at the bottom of the company. You know, Banco has been open since 1933, and we've always been.
That's so crazy. It's so crazy.
It's nutty, man. It's really insane, honestly, if you think about it. And you know when Prohibition ended?
No.
December 5th, 1933.
That's nuts.
We'll talk about that on another podcast, too.
Yeah.
But we've always been customer service oriented and a family business. But the family business thing kind of comes first, you know? We really care about our people, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that everyone's in the best possible position at our company. And we also, you know, if you get into a position at ground level, we're always looking for growth. We always want to hire from within. We will look outside for a better candidate, but that process of growing through the company, it really gives you so many aspects of the beverage industry isn't the same everywhere, and we run it very differently. We're a large company, but like I said, that family business aspect is at our core. It's something we'll never let go of. I will never lose that. No McDonaldization of Banco. You'll never hear anything like that. You know, my people have family issues, and we give time off. You know what I mean? When COVID happened, you know, if you were intelligent and you had things going legit, you grab that PPP loan. You know what I mean? We gave that back to the people. You know, we bought rolling assets and stuff like that for the company to replenish stuff. But then we also gave out COVID bonuses. Yeah. You know, because I mean, everyone stuck by our side. We weren't allowed to close.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to close during COVID. They're like, no, you need to stay open.
Yeah.
Liquor stores are closing. Everything's closing.
That was nuts that liquor stores closed. How wild was that?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Appreciate
that was so wild.
It was very good.
And then I remember when I went down to DNR because we were like stockpiling because the next rumor is that the distributors were going to close. And I remember the girl at DNR was like, we really don't know what's going on. And then they just stayed.
Nobody knew what was going on.
No, that was crazy. What's crazy is when I look back and talk about that time, or like I reference stuff, you cut out that 2 years. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that was last year, and I was like, no, there's 2 years of just absolute horseshit.
Bro, yes, and everyone was stuck in the middle of it, and people, it's scary for everyone on every rung of any, corporation or business or anything, no matter what you're doing, especially our consumers, not our end, but some of our, bars and stuff like that. Like they had to close down. You feel so bad for these people because these are their lives.
Trying to stay open with doing takeout food.
Can you imagine?
Dude, it was crazy. I didn't get shit. I sat down here and
bro.
I called all the sponsors. Most of them were my friends and people I built relationships with, and they were like, let it ride. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm going to keep doing podcasts. I did a couple solos. The guys from Finishers came down, and we were kind of all on the same plan. And we just started ripping podcasts, and that's essentially how I just found out a couple weeks ago. That's how we ended up on Tiger King, because we were one of the only people that were still podcasting at the time. Because they talked about it on a show that was on, because when they did that on Tiger King, it was Jim and Sam, and then it was our podcast, and I kept, why the hell, how could you find
Nobody wanted
what
to
I'm
set
doing?
Up the cruise, or...
And then when they said that they were looking for topical conversations during that time, the only ones that were basically podcasting and still doing it were like Jim and Sam, us, and 2 other people, and then that's how it got ripped on there. But like I didn't get a handout. I didn't get anything. I missed getting a paycheck from the post office because they said like I quit an hour too early. So instead of giving me money, I had nothing. And I look back on it, and I'm glad I didn't get anything because it made me stay working. And then it was the only time in life that everything stopped where I could adjust what was wrong with this business and make changes. It's when it turned into a solo thing and what we're doing now, because I had to be the guy to do everything because people wouldn't come down here. So it's like, if you worked through that, and there was positives that ended up coming out of it, but what went on was totally fucking crazy. I forgot that they shut down the fucking liquor stores. My buddy was running to Jersey to get them, and I forgot everyone hated Tom Wolfe and all that shit. Crazy.
We were like all-stars. They shut down the liquor stores, and now there's people out there that feel the need to drink every day. You know what I mean? They're not just going to stop drinking because
that was crazy how much people started drinking.
Well,
yeah.
How much did you start drinking?
We did it, let's say, my buddy, because this is, now you're reeling back to a time when they were saying we should, remember when no one was driving? So like, my buddy was across the street.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Thanks for knowing.
Dude, it was
Thanks
so
for the
crazy.
free road.
So my buddy lives in an alley behind this, so it's basically a half a block away. So he started coming over, and there was nothing to do, so we started playing video games, and like a bunch of us would get online, and then we started just getting booze. And then he was going to Jersey, and that's where he picked up the big ass proper 12. And then I went down to DNR, and we started getting 30 packs because we didn't know when it would close. And then we probably did it for like 2 or 3 weeks, but then he was getting a paycheck and I wasn't. And then that's when I was like, yo, this is cool and everything, but like, because people would be like, oh, tell your landlord. It's like, bro, if I don't pay for 6 months, he's still going to want that money.
People don't want to hear that kind of shit, man.
And I've never been the one to do that. So it's like, I got the one check that was like, what was it, $1,000 they sent to everybody. Yeah. Anything else I was told was coming, didn't. And then I just kept working. Yeah. But yeah, that's nuts, man. That's nuts. But yeah, we got fucked up for a while because it was the only thing that kind of made you relaxed because it was so wild what was going on.
But I'll tell you what, look at everything that's made it out on the back end now.
Yeah.
A lot of these businesses that got through COVID and came out are stronger.
Yeah, and there's a lot,
Much stronger.
A lot of stuff too. Cut the fat off. Like a lot of these 24-hour stores, like Giant and shit. They're like, yeah, we're not paying. Like we don't have to be open.
24 hours.
They close at 11 now, and I'm like, man, they probably save so much money. Even like fast food didn't know. Some fast food places don't even allow you back in just because they just do drive-through.
They close it and
they probably cut half their employees in half.
Some of them, yeah, you're right. They don't even open the doors now.
Yeah.
During the day, the doors aren't even open. You hit the drive-through.
Yeah.
But I mean, that goes the whole culture of fast food.
Then there's the whole Uber Eats and all that shit came through.
Guilty, bro. Super guilty, bro.
Yeah.
Especially when COVID started, I was the worst. I got a puppy. And it's a Corso, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Mastiff puppy. So these things require so much time and effort and socialization and training. And so I'm doing this all the time. After a day, I'm like lazy. It's like, what's DoorDash? But then I like look at my bank account at the end of the month and like, oh, you're a real scumbag, bro.
Yeah. But what's cool is like, I feel like this area gets caught up a lot. Like it's behind. Like when I lived in Virginia, it's like I saw that hipster wave of vegan and all that stuff. They were 6 years ahead. Yeah. So like I feel like there's a lot of things in the valley that got fast forwarded. Like how like you can have Uber Eats now and a lot of that, because a lot of that they weren't driving to Bushkill Township.
Well, no, but I mean, you see the industrialization that's occurring around the area.
It's getting crazy.
Million square foot warehouses just popping up.
Yeah.
No leasees. They're just throwing them up, and they're like, yeah, someone will.
Tatamy, Bushkill's getting taken
South
over with all
Whitehall,
the fields. Yeah.
bro. It's just it's everywhere. But I mean, that's going to help. That's going to lend to everything out here just getting bigger and better. You know, I mean, our towns our property values are just soaring through the sky. I mean, we see a lot of places getting turned, and I don't want to use the word, but we all know it's happening around here. Look at Easton, gentrified, just super gentrified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just happening everywhere. And I mean, it's good for the area. It's good for our economy. You know, I wish they would keep some type of affordable housing in some type of nicer places, but I'm not getting into all that political talk right now. Yeah. But I do believe.
I think Easton always figures it out before everyone else.
We have a really good mayor, for real. Shout out to my guy.
I don't even know who our mayor is. That's where Nazareth's mayor.
Oh, you don't even know who your mayor is?
No.
He's probably like a 35-year-old kid.
I used to go to a couple meetings, and then you kind of see what's going on, and then it's just like, all right, this is
too political and old school for me. Got to go.
Yeah, they only hold meetings like every 2 months, so it's impossible to get anything done. And then I don't know what they think about me, but I get like, I remember they were trying to tell me I couldn't do a pop-up because I couldn't have the smoker in the street, and I was like, cool, I'll be back in 3 days. I'm a problem solver. And I came back in 3 days, and I told the chief of police. I figured it out. I called my landlord. The smoker's going on the landlord. I talked to Jerry Johnson from the fire department. I'm still going on with the event. And sometimes I don't know how he perceived that, but I just, I'm not waiting 2 months to get this shit done.
Guys like us, man, knows losses, obstacles, failures.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot in the, before we went on. It's like, if you really build something for nothing, or you work how you did coming up with, like, having to get somewhere.
We got to revisit that too.
And not, have to get somewhere and not be given something, you figure it out. I look at some people who tell me problems, and I'm like, figure it out. How do you not figure it out?
You start
or when
with the
someone's like,
problem,
how did you do all this? Figure it out, man. There's always a fucking solution, and if there isn't a solution, you can go around a lot of problems. And then sometimes when you go around problems, you start realizing that you made a lot of your problems worse by trying to not figure it out, and then like you have to put the time in. And everyone always told me it takes 10 years to do something, 10 years to do something, and when I passed 10 years, I'm like, oh, that was true.
I just said that to you.
True.
I literally just said that to you.
Yeah,
10
it's
years
true.
Of fucking hard work,
it's true.
man.
And but it's like, do you want to do 10 years of hard work and build something you love that's your own? Or do you want to do 10 years and retire somewhere and get money? But I mean, that the retirement and pension dream, that was something that came out, when we were kids. I don't know a lot of places that do that shit anymore. The post office wasn't even doing that.
A lot of union places are getting away with it too. The places that, really fought for that in the beginning, a lot of union shops are closing that up around here.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's the way industry's going now. Everyone's getting 401ks and doing stuff like that, and they're good too.
Yeah.
But it takes less liability off the companies. I understand what they're trying to do.
When you started driving and started getting back into the thick of knowing that business. What was that like to be on the road?
So I don't ever tell anyone who I am. I'm just Tony Gallo. My last name isn't even Banko. So it doesn't, if you didn't know that my dad ended up working at Banko and then ended up being the sales manager there, you don't even know that I have any connection unless you know me personally or anything like that. So I just went out there with that attitude, just fucking work, shut up, you know, keep your head to the grind, do your job, get out there.
Did you like driving?
I never got on the big trucks. We had box trucks and vans that I took out all the time. If I wasn't doing that, I was helping. I did like it. It was a lot of fun, man.
Just listen to music.
Dude, you're fucking listening to music. You're driving around.
Yeah.
And listen, you also have to understand, this is like, you know, this is the late 90s, early 2000s. Things were still a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like, you stop at a stop after delivering all their beer, and then they give you free food and a Miller Lite. You know what I mean? Like, so you had to watch how many times that happened today. You had to cap that at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were smart about it, but the beer industry was the Tasmanian devil for a long time, man. It was just a whirlwind. Like, you know, there were people riding around with a beer in their hand and one in their cup holder, and this was everyday business. You know what I mean? And then not only that, if you were someone back in the day, if you were at one of these beverage wholesalers and you know, apparently the officers would turn a blind eye. They'd grab you out of your car, they would put you in their car, leave your car there, take you home, and you know. And this doesn't apply to me. That's actually never happened to me. I got 2 DUIs.
You're like, I was fine.
Yeah, I fucked up for sure. That was decades ago, but I fucked up for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's people that work for us in the past that they've been caught a couple times. You know, maybe they had a drinking issue or something like that, but they were real tight with the police.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, when I first started working up at Cherry Hill was the first time where like I was in charge of, like, you know, dealing with the beer people and stuff, and then you build that relationship, and sometimes the owner would, like, it's almost like you do, like, if you're the beer salesman, it's like, oh, come in, just have one. Or then, you know, if you're there at a specific time, the old heads are all there. So now you're walking into, like, oh, here he is. What do you got for us? You got a story. Then if you, like, I would watch where, like, somebody had something personal going on where they get caught up in, like, being at a bar, which is what happens when you're at a bar, especially you have a couple beers. Oh, my girlfriend.
Right. Now I'm hearing a button down and fucking steel toe boots. Like,
but there was the guys who would run that correctly, where it's like you find, you know, you're doing that at the end, like your last stop.
Yeah,
like,
so
this is my last stop.
That's usually, you know, at the last stop you have usually it's all a timed thing. You know what I'm saying? But there's always a dispatcher, so you kind of get your stops. I mean, you manipulate around things, but you want to usually start close, go out, get further away, and then come back.
How long were you in the vans?
I was in the vans and then on trucks for years, man. It was 4 or 5 years, I'd say. But then I ended up leaving. My grandfather put someone in charge of general managing the company, and then you know, my mom and that person were working close. But this isn't too far long after my dad died. That sent my immediate family, me, mom, sister, into like a bit of a spiral. I was 15 years old. My sister was 10 years old. You know,
that's young.
Yeah, my mom was like 40, dude, or some shit like that. You know, my dad only died at 45. So it sent our family for a spiral. I went off on my own, kind of, you know what I mean? My sister had her issues. She ended up with thyroid cancer, which was another whole, my dad died of cancer, so then her having thyroid cancer is like, dude, I was like a PTSD, like, talk about Tasmanian devil. I was a whirlwind, bro. I mean, we met right around inside that window of, I was on like the tail end of my whirlwind when we left, but I was still a little bit, I was never a stupid kid, but I was crazy, you know what I mean? And so I ended up leaving, and that's when I met Darren through Stacy.
Yeah.
Right? I met Darren through Stacy, and then became partners with him at Machines. And then, you know, Machines didn't work out for us. So then I went back again, but you know, my mom wanted me to come back to help her out, but I'm like, listen, if I come back, like, you know, I've been on these trucks and like I did years down there, you know what I mean? I understand. Move me up again to something like inventory or some type of position where I can see another aspect of the business. I really want to see all aspects so that by the time I get to a position where I'm at an executive level, I really understand, you know what I mean, what's going on down here. So then that's what happened. I actually kept a warehouse job, but I was managing the empty beer, which meant like, so I would unload all the trailers that would come with full beer, put that in the coolers, inventory everything. After I was done with that, people would start coming back with trucks from their morning routes. So I would start unloading the trucks from the morning routes, inventorying all the empty kegs that came off there. And at the time, there were still empty cases of beer, like returnable cases of beer. Most disgusting thing that the beer industry ever did.
Yeah.
Fucking
They
gross.
still have A-Tree with the soda
It's
bottles.
fucking gross. So my job was to take them off too, put them over, and then sort them at some point, which was always fun. Puke and
Yeah.
you can imagine the things found in empty beer cases. So that was my job for a couple years, doing all that. And then I went to handle beer inventory as well, along with that. So they were making me put in some hours to really understand the business and learn what had to be done. But then the guy that ended up being general managing, I segued into my family being fucked up because I meant to get here. The guy that ended up being general managing while my family was a little fucked up, my mom kind of took a couple steps back.
Yeah.
Because Banko was running like a finely tuned machine, and she assumed that, he would allow it. Unfortunately, he ended up doing some stuff that really put the company at risk, So my mom gave me a call one day when I left again then. I left again then because the way he was running the business, I saw what was going on, but I couldn't do anything about it because I was a little bit of a mess back then. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
People, who's going to really listen to a guy that's talking about, hey, there's something going on here behind the scenes that's messing stuff up. No one's listening to that guy because he can't even control his own life at that point, So no one listened to me. So I'm like, all right. I left. I went with my friends that did music for a bunch of years. Mogul Urban. I don't know if you remember that. E. J. EA Sports, Stress. My boy Ike CEO. We were doing that for years, running around the valley. Brought in tons of artists, opened for huge name acts that came out here, did Music Fest a bunch of times. We brought Meek. The last thing we ever did pretty much was we brought Meek Mill out to Croc Rock and
That's crazy.
threw a show. Yeah, Meek Mill cost $10,000.
Yeah.
I literally, Meek Mill pulled up. We're having a meeting with his manager. Meek Mill pulls up in a Hellcat back in I don't know when this is.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even a Hellcat. It was just an SRT Charger. I don't even think Hellcats existed at this point. Pulls up in this tinted up Hellcat. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Rolls down the window. I hand him $10K. Like, here you go. Yeah, see you in a couple of weeks. Anyway, that shit in the valley at the time, and I don't know. I don't really pay attention to climate now, but that stuff in the valley at the time was just, it didn't have legs.
Yeah.
Really.
Did you apply what you were learning from Banco and your time in the business and everything that you were doing to start building in that music scene? What was it like kind of taking your skill set and your work ethic at that time and then applying it? Because I know what it's like to take skill sets from things and then put it into something like creative, like a podcast or anything. And then when you see it's working, that's a very specific feeling. So what was that like for you to be an asset into the music that was going on as opposed to just somebody who's just kind of like, yeah, we should do this?
Just being considered an asset gives you a lot more confidence than you already have.
Yeah.
Right? Like just people voting for you to do that.
Yeah, reassures any doubts you would
Right.
have.
So just knowing that you want me to manage this situation, it gave me the confidence to do it, period. And I'm not afraid to fail. My life has been a series of speed bumps and no's and failures, and
It's the only way you get somewhere.
everyone thinks that it's so easy because I grew up in this family business, but nobody knows what's happened behind the scenes and how many times we almost lost it and what I've had to do to get it back to where, not just me, my team is amazing. Let me control out, delete that I get that I out of here. My team is amazing. The people around me are absolutely incredible. My mom's vision for the business, which has my grandfather's vision of the business, which has laid the pathwork for us to get where we are now. And my mom's subtle touches that have kept it a family business and kept it structured around love and familiarity and not pushing people to the side and considering anybody a number and allowing full acceptance for everyone. I mean, it's led to this environment that is just very well oiled.
Yeah.
Very well oiled machine. For many years it was not, and like I said, we almost lost the company a couple times. We were a day away at one point.
That's crazy.
From bankruptcy. That's something that I really don't talk about, but we're about 5-6 years out from that, 7 years out from that now, and we are much stronger than we have ever been.
Yeah, that's cool.
New departments coming on. We recently, my general manager, Rob Gronkowski, who is just one of the most amazing human beings that I've ever met in my life, which is why I needed him working side by side with me. He dreamt up bringing back the NA department, which was a complete disaster back in the day when we were mismanaged. he dreamt of bringing it back. And I mean, the profits and the monthly percentages, I just can't. It's amazing to see what water and margins aren't as amazing as everyone would think in this business. You know, you really got to deal in volume to get any type of legs. You know, if you're just 1-2 piecing it off, it's not. You'll make some money and you'll make a good living, but this wholesale and stuff, you really got to deal in volume.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always a risk grabbing anything, because if you're going to lose your ass if you don't push it out the door fast, you know. But
it's fun to sit here and watch you
turn into this guy and not the guy that
just talk about the hustle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the hustle, because you get addicted to, I mean, I'm very similar, where you get addicted to moving and doing stuff, and then when you take that and you apply it, it's why I asked about the music stuff, because it's like when you start pushing that in a general direction for like, you know, anything creative, it's always hard to turn money out of it. But then once you learn how to turn money out of it, then you get over the hump, and then you can start applying that learning how to turn money into something. And especially for you to learn all this, I feel like every time you go out, that's important to the story, because you're picking up stuff off the street and building new businesses, and then coming back and being like, I guarantee once we get further, you're going to take things that you learned from doing the music stuff and that networking and dump it into a much simpler idea of, like, because it's like doing music and like getting Meek Mills and doing all that stuff, that's not easy tasks.
Dude, that form of networking taught me so much going back into beer.
Yeah.
Shaking those hands and gaining those, because
then you start looking like, oh, well, this beer rep isn't anywhere as intimidating as Meek Mills.
Dude, I'm sitting at Rockefeller Records. I'm sitting at Rockefeller Records in an office with Lenny S. pitching him my artist. Lenny S is Jay-Z's right-hand man.
Yeah.
You know, that was very intimidating to do, man. And walking in there with my chest out and my shoulder back and shaking his hand, like, and not fumbling my words, and now nothing came of that. You know what I'm saying? But having the confidence to step in there was some scary shit, bro.
Yeah, because something always comes from something. Like even like if we'll go do a pop-up and we don't make the money that we want to make, and then I'm like, all right, well, what came out of this?
Right.
All right, well, if you break down the hourly, what we made is that would have been 3 days of a part-time job, so it was worth doing it, and we got cash for it.
Absolutely.
I also picked up 3 podcasts. All right, so I'm networking even harder, and then I'm like, Anna, you have to remember you need that social media. So now my social media, I traveled, and there's different stuff, and people are, oh man, you know, I get a lot of people being like, hey, it's fun to follow along because I'm constantly fucking mixing it up.
Absolutely.
So it's like, if you look at it from that aspect, it's like, all right, well, I'm getting social media and my content. That's king. Then it's like, all right, well, then I networked and I'm going to get more content. And since content's king, we're getting that on top of it. And on top of it, I made what I would have made it a part-time job working 3 days, and I don't have to work a part-time job, and this is what the fuck I'm doing. So if I really just want to get by, I can constantly keep doing this.
You can coast if you want.
Yeah, so it's like when those things come up, I used to be like, because I ate all those shit sandwiches with apparel. We talked about that earlier.
Absolutely.
So like, I ate a ton of shit sandwiches selling apparel, making t-shirts, buying them, putting them on the shelves. It wasn't that it didn't work. It wasn't the right time to sell online.
Well, you probably broke even.
Yeah.
You probably broke even, you know?
All of those things that I did wrong.
Right.
I'm now going to do right now.
You understand those weaknesses.
I understand.
You understand
and
never go down that road again.
There's no way that I could have sat down with anyone. I could have sat down for a year every day for 8 hours talking to somebody who runs apparel, and I wouldn't have got the same amount of knowledge I got from me sitting at a fucking convention and nobody buying me a t-shirt and going back to the hotel room and being feeling like an absolute failure in that fucking elevator ride, being like, I spent fucking $2,000 and I didn't make any money at all. And then now I look back on that and I'm like, I'm so glad that all that happened, and 2, I never gave up, because now I have so much information on how not to do that there's no way I can't not do it right.
Banko failing a couple times. My investments at Machines of Mayhem failing. The music thing failing. All those failures, they've taught me how to not fail.
Yes. Not enough people talk about it. I bring it up all the time on here because the guests will come on and like, I knew you'd be easy to talk to just because you don't give a fuck, and you'll just put it out there because you're okay with the fact of where you are because you took risks that didn't work. But then now you're getting things back tenfold because you got the knowledge of it not working. But too many people don't. Like, I always self-admit to break the ice in a conversation like, yo, I fucked up.
I'm the best.
I
the best at that.
I fucked up. I fucking did that wrong. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. I mean, even when I showed you that video, I'm like, yo, like that took me realizing that I can't use licensed content, because once this is out from where it's going to go next,
gains traction,
I could get sued.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like, hey, who gives a fuck? I sold $100.
Oh no.
If I would gain traction to a point where, like, let's say I got 50,000.
They're breaking down all your analytics. They're breaking down any sale
I'm getting a phone call.
You're getting a bad phone call from a fucking lawyer, and that lawyer gets big money to be retained. My friend.
It's like the people who run the UFC fights legally in a bar.
Dude, are you kidding me?
That's crazy. Dude, I know a couple people who didn't realize what happens, and they didn't realize that, like, what was going on. So they paid like ZZO to run that they were doing fights, and UFC has like a very big team that will just pay attention to all that. So they got a phone call
per ass in the seat.
They just opened up and they were like, this is going to cost you $500,000
per ass in the seat.
And they were like,
what?
They're like, we just opened, and that will completely tank our business. And then the UFC people, which they're lawyers, were like, we'll work with you, because we believe what happened, but they still paid a huge fine. A huge fine.
Well, because on the front end,
no one walks away out of that situation being like, next time we'll get you.
No. I believe on the front end, if I'm not mistaken, it's your like capacity.
Yeah.
You have to pay like 74, or they give you money off 55 per ass that can stand in your
now
building.
It's 85. Fucking $100 for a pay-per-view. What was this, boxing?
The only sport I watch is UFC.
Same.
MMA. I got the fight pass. I do this. I do that. It costs like $10,000 a year to be a UFC fan, bro. You gotta like get a side job to be a UFC fan.
We watch them down here. Some people will throw in, and like everybody's really good about it. And they do give you enough free fights, but they're not free fights, because you're basically paying the old fee for
fight pass, ESPN Plus.
So like if they give you 3 fights and you're paying what the pay-per-views used to be with ESPN Plus, it evens out to you're just still paying the same amount of money. They just gave you free shit, and now it's $80, but they're still.
I would almost rather I wish for like the UFC Fight Pass thing, they just gave you like a flat fee per year.
Yeah, I think that's what I think the WWE does that now.
Yeah, why can't I just
pay a flat fee?
I know you're gonna bang me. I know you're gonna bang me. I know you're gonna say $400. Listen, man, I watch enough of this shit that $400 covers the first 3 months of the year, dude.
It should be like gambling.
2 months of the year. Like,
it should be like gambling.
I get comped.
They're like, look, you've been an avid subscriber for 10 years.
Got Caesars calling me.
Yeah, give me some shitty nosebleed tickets at least, so I know that you're at least using lube.
Right.
So the music stuff. Where did you shift after that?
So after the music stuff, I got a phone call from my mom, and that's when she was like, listen, I need you to come back to Banco. I need help running this place, you know? And I'm like, all right, I'll help you, but we got to get this guy out the way, because I'm not working with him, you know? I'm just not going to do it. Like, I see what he's doing to the business. I see what the potential of the business could be if he wasn't involved. And if we get him out of the way, then I'm in. So she put some eyes on it, and the eyes saw something right away. Needless to say, that guy was removed from his position within 3 days of the phone conversation that my mother and I had.
That must have felt good for you after leaving because of that, and then, you know, having some more life experience and doing what you want to do, but then to come back and then somebody pay attention to what your concerns were, that had to feel great.
Well, I skipped something. Let me go back. Before music, they moved me. I went from the inventory and stuff like that to then finally being operations manager. And that was a lot more on my plate. But I was definitely ready for it, because I wanted to prove myself. And the operations management position consisted of a lot. You know, I was in charge of all the trucks and forklifts and most of the stuff. Like,
it's so crazy how much there is in that business. Like, it's
the building
so big.
and the maintenance and just everything, man. There was a lot on my plate, and it went from like, you know, just like hands-on kind of work and some, you know, brain activity to really like, you know, I have to really buckle down, sit at this desk and figure out what's going on a daily basis. And then with the operations management, they added in beer inventory again, but on a larger scale. And that's how I really started seeing things going left. I really started seeing there were a lot of numbers that weren't matching up and weren't coming back to zero, or just like a pallet number or something like that. There were big numbers that were off, and the only way they could have been off is if someone was, you know, hiding things or stealing things or false invoices.
Yeah, once you kind of start figuring out the inventory and stuff like that, and you figure out how the numbers go, and then you pay attention. Yeah.
Why would you? And the dipshit that was doing all this shit put me in charge. Dumb motherfucker. He really thought I was a dumbass.
Yeah, he probably thought he was slick,
that's what it came down to.
Yeah.
He really thought I was a dumb fuck. I failed my junior year because I was running around being a maniac, you know. So he just thought he wanted to railroad me. He really thought that I was gonna fuck shit up more. But no, buddy. Like, I want people to take me serious now. Like, I'm dialed in at this point.
Yeah.
And now look at what you did. Now I see some shit. So no one would listen to me. So that's when I was like, I'm not doing this shit no more. I'm done. I'm about to go down the hall and like put hands on this man, you know? So I left and I went and I got up with my boys, one of which was my roommate. The other one I ended up picking up. Actually, I got divorced. I moved my one boy in, went down to Florida, picked my other boy up, and we just started doing music. And went from there. Once I got back, once she called me and I told her that and she called him, I came back, and that's when I was really in more of a position. Like, it was, you know, then I became VP of operations, and I mean, really kind of, we moved us, which...
How long did it take to fix what he had fucked up?
Oh, years. And then we got another guy in there, and he fucked up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fucked up too real bad. Real bad. The other one was intentional. This one was not. You know, but the unintentional one was almost a little bit worse.
Because he wasn't doing it.
He couldn't
on purpose.
He wasn't doing it on purpose. He wasn't. You know, it was just a really seriously mismanaged situation.
Yeah,
I don't blame
the stuff nobody talks about or thinks about with running a large scale company like that.
And at the time, still, even at that time, 7 years ago, I wasn't fully dialed in yet. You know what I mean? I just didn't. There was just a little bit more experience I needed. You know what I'm saying? And a couple more people that I needed to talk to, and a few more like aspects of life I needed to understand before I was really ready to like step into a real major executive level role there, you know, and I knew that, you know, but my mom really is a beast. Like, she has so much faith in me. She has so much faith in me that, like, when I never had faith in myself, it gave me faith. Because, dude, people like see it as, you know, oh, he's had all this handed to him and this and that. But what about never feeling adequate? Like, what about always feeling like everything in your life has been handed to you? What about feeling like you're not worth shit because you grew up in a family business? You know what I mean? And motherfuckers always say that you ain't worth shit. You know what I mean? Like, a little spoiled little rich kid, you know what I'm saying? And this, what I'm telling you right now, if people that work for me listen to this, some of them are going to be like, what the fuck? Seriously, like new hirees or some people in the warehouse that just maybe weren't paying attention. They're going to be like, what the fuck? This kid really? Oh, he isn't a spoiled piece of shit. Like, oh, I should think. I should shake his hand every once in a while or something. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a really great way to. I'll probably clip that for a promo. That's a really great way to describe how you grew up, and nobody ever thinks about feeling inadequate for somebody. You know, it's almost
because your family built generational wealth before I was born.
Yeah.
So because they did that, now I'm supposed to feel like I'm not worth anything because I didn't have to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I didn't fuck up Machines of Mayhem. I'm gonna leave that at that. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't fuck up the other business I was involved in. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't fuck up Banco either. But if I would have had a chance at Machines of Mayhem, I bet I could have brought that back to life.
Yeah.
And if we would have kept our heads together with Mogul Urban, that would have been a fucking serious animal, because my one artist still to this day could go, he could go viral right now. This man can sing, he can rap, he can play the drums, he can play the piano, he can make beats, he can do, and when I say sing and rap, I mean like really, really sing. And when I say rap, I mean shit that you would listen to and be like, oh, mother, what the fuck? Like, why is it? We could pull up shit 8 years ago that we did that right now could, I don't know how that there's no money behind this guy, honestly. And even now with Banko, I'm very proud of how implemental I was in its resurgence and what it is now today. I'm very proud of that. I pat my whole team on the back for that all the time. And I finally, you know, besides raising 2 kids that are the most perfect human beings in the world, what I did with Banko, where it is now, the vision that we all have for the future and where I absolutely see it going, I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to feel It's got to feel crazy to go through the loss of your father, and then because it's a lot of stuff that.
Oh no, my whole family.
Yeah.
My
so
whole
it's
family.
like
It was crazy, bro.
So like, for you guys to probably get through that, and then you're all probably striving for a vision of what you would want him to be proud of you for, and then to get to a point of where you guys did all this, and then leaving and coming back, and it's such the interwebs of what you actually need to get it to where it's going right now. Like, I feel like Banko wouldn't be where it's at if you didn't leave 3 or 4 times and then come
Agreed.
back. So like, to hear all of this,
someone could have done it.
Yeah,
someone could have done it. Definitely, I'm not like a fucking rocket scientist, and I'm definitely not the smartest man in this room. You know what I mean? Like, but someone could have done it, but they didn't know Banko.
Yeah.
They didn't know Banko, and there were certain pieces that had to be moved, certain pieces that had to be let go of, and someone that didn't know the inner workings of the business and what it actually needed might not have seen that right away, but I had a vision, and thankfully I had people that believed in me enough at Banko, at an executive level, that were like, Tony, let's go, and also I have some ideas, and I'm humble as fuck. Like I said, I honestly... Everyone at the executive level that works for me is definitely smarter than me. It was a family business, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm giving it legs, and I like to consider myself a leader. I'm in the warehouse every day shaking hands. I know everyone's name. I will load cases. Especially if I see one of my older guys that like I used to be on trucks with, running around in the morning on a busy summer day, or just running around in the morning off. I don't have anything to do, and they're hopping off their forklift with their broken ass knees, grabbing cases, stay on your forklift, bro.
Yeah. It's so important for you to be self-aware of like the fact that you're like, I'm not on the level of these other guys, but what I am good at is moving this thing constantly.
Yeah,
and being the legs of it was so important. There's a lot of stuff that you said there that relates back to what I'm doing and what I'm about to do. And it's like, it's like you see everything from a ground level, and then when you leave and you get street smarts, but then you have a little bit of business, and you kind of like blend this into this like weird fucked up thing that you kind of like are running off of creativity and passion. And like when you put a lot behind that, it's hard to describe to anybody, but you really just need people to believe in you. And then if people believe in you, and it buries that self-doubt of whether it came from a childhood or people, saying shit to you like, oh, you're fucking spoiled. I mean, everybody has that barrier. I feel like that they don't break through to become who they are. And it's like when you do that and you do break through it, and then you have support behind you, it really changes you into this very unique special tool that, if it's used correctly in a business, can really make it run 10 times fucking better.
And like I said, those individuals around me at the executive level really helped me destroy my self-doubt.
Yeah. And you have to.
With that, like, the communication is like paramount. We know this to like every type of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a trust, business, love. It's communication's paramount. So it's hard to get different divisions of a business to communicate, because sometimes it's easy to butt heads when you're a salesman talking to a driver, or management talking to office personnel, or I like try to walk around the office all day, every day, and just destroy that shit. I am like the destroy. If it gets awkward anywhere, bro, I am popping up. Like, what is going on around here, ladies and gentlemen? You know what I mean? This is not how we're working today. You know?
Yeah. That's fun.
And people know that they can count on me for that. But I'm never gonna be the guy that like, if I turn the corner and see something I got to be serious about, everyone knows my whole demeanor is gonna change.
Well, I mean, especially with you guys having 2 people that almost cost you the business, you have to be that upfront and forward. It's very similar to running a kitchen correctly. Like, you can't, when you're in a kitchen and you want things to come out a specific way, it's like you have to break through to that point of view where you have to be like, whoa, no. And as uncomfortable it is for someone who's had to come through with like lack and stuff, and like I talk to Zach Maslaney from Finishers all the time, and we talk about business, and we're both growing together, and he's always ahead of me, and I always like that he's ahead of me, because then you always got to play catch up. So
I love that rat race. That's the only rat race I like right there.
It's like the scene from Snatch where the rabbits running. So like I told him the other day, I was like, man, I'm now in the process of murdering versions of myself. So like, I'm too busy to do a bunch of shit, and then somebody will be like, hey, like I want to use the studio, and people do want to use the studio now because they're catching on to like what I have doing and they want to get going. And there's some people that I want to work with, but then there's some people who are pushing the boundaries of what's like, bro, you're paying me to do this. Yeah. And like, I had somebody do something and I told Zach, like, I just nipped it in the butt and was like, no. This is how it's going to be. I'm dictating this shit. You're not. You're coming to me for something. And now, as much as I'm the best, worst version of my mother, where like I am too much of a person who will help people and do things for you and don't expect anything back because that's how I was raised. But like, that's not good for business all the time. So like, I'm now murdering that version of me that lets people roll over on me. And it's been really nice to see that I'm in control of it, and always was, because I did it to one person who wasn't even trying to do it in a malicious manner. They were just being too eager with my time. And I was like, no, this is my time. This is where it is. And this is what I need you to do. And they said, okay. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to be like that guy who just lets everything dictate everything going on and fucks your whole goddamn day up, and you're stressed out and you're, where the fuck is my time going? And, you know, and then your friends who run businesses are like, time's money. And they just start yelling shit they heard from Boiler Room in your fucking ear. And I'm just like, stop it. It's making it worse.
Coffee is for closers.
Yeah. So, what does he say? He's like, lunch is for wimps or something. When you start getting to a version of yourself that you always, because when you talked about vision, that's also super important. Like, where I think we're both the type of people who vision something and you latch onto it, and then the chase of getting up there, and it's like playing an old Nintendo game. You got to go through the levels. There's no fucking saving, and you just got to keep fucking going.
There's no stopping. I constantly, there's shit I did yesterday that I won't do today. And that happens. And there's shit I did yesterday for 10 years just like that I'll change tomorrow if that's what it dictates.
Yeah.
But like, that time is money shit is super cliche. But once someone realizes they can manipulate your time, one time,
you're done.
They will manipulate the fuck out of your time.
Yeah.
Until you cap that shit.
Yeah.
And make them realize that. But that's what comes with being blunt. And people will call you mean, and people will call you loud, and people will say, well, your tone and this. All right, well, if I let you play with me, you're really not going to like the tone that comes on the back end. So if you just understand my blunt delivery on the front end, then everything's going to be, what's the problem? I respect your blunt tone as well. That
was one of the, like, you learn so many lessons in business. And then when you get into running your own business, and like I said,
we're not in the boardroom sucking each other's dicks.
Yeah, like.
It ain't nice in there, bro.
No. So like, the first lesson I learned a couple years in was why people say business is business.
Right.
Business is business. Because then there's no feelings.
Right.
And then, that's just business.
10 minutes before when we're introducing each other, fine. Everything, we're friends. Everything's great. Once that TV gets turned on and we start talking about numbers, we're not friends anymore.
No.
This is about, we both of us have a job right here.
And like I said, it's been a version of me that will be adapted and adjusted, especially with opening up a restaurant and doing everything that I'm going to do next. Like, I talked to, my buddy Kevin, and he runs restaurants and shit, and he'll tell me, like, they're like lining things up, and he tells me these moments he has in these meetings where like his partner is so grateful that like he goes above and beyond to be like, no, this is what we want. And then now I get that little bit of information, and then when I'm in a conversation, I'm like, do something like Zach and Kevin do. And like, that's also another thing that we can get into, is like having people around you that run business and are doing business. Like, because my friends who do 9 to 5s, like, I know they're business because I did that, but then they don't know anything that I'm doing at all, and it's really hard sometimes to have a conversation, especially when you live in business, with somebody that doesn't understand building a business at all. And then when you have people around you who are all, like how I said, chasing people who are up the ladder a little bit, that's so huge for motivation too. It's been very weird and a long, fucked up journey to start this from absolutely nothing, and then build so many different things outside of it, and then to slowly be turning it into something that, I would want to be on the level of what you guys are doing. I don't think I would want that many employees, but you know what I mean? Like, to put that on a real level, it had to have been crazy for that to have been on a real level for you, and then to grow up into it, and it was almost like a fucking revolving door that ain't slowing down, and you got to jump in and out of it.
And it just, like, since I'm a kid to now, bro, we're talking about 13 counties we're servicing at this point. Two businesses, Banko North that's in Scranton that services everything above the counties that we service down here at Banko Allentown.
When you came on and started getting back into like running the business and being a part of it, and then like you guys got through your 2 crazy moments, when did it start really turning into a Banko that none of you guys have seen this version of it?
In about a year afterwards, we realized everything was like really starting to shape up and take the vision of what my mother, myself, and a gentleman named Dave Lieb, who helped us general manage for a while, who also passed away. That general manager position is like cursed at Banko Beverage Company. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, he really was vital in restructuring that company with me. He was a big numbers guy. I understand sales. I understand how to run a business. I'm not a great numbers guy. I can look at a month end, a year end, and understand what's going on. But there's some people that can just look at accounting sheets and just like see shit.
Yeah.
Like it pops out at them, and he was one of those guys, man. So about a year and change into seeing everything he did, we all realized, like, all right, this is it. This is the vision. This is the road. There's going to be some forks, but this is the way we need to keep going. Then, unfortunately, he got sick with fucking brain cancer, this poor guy. It was one of the best things that ever happened to us up there. He got sick, and that's when Rob Gronkowski, who's my general manager now, has always worked there. His dad worked there. I grew up with this guy. I grew up with his dad.
That's got to be fun to run or be working with people that have been there almost as long as you, or you worked with their dads.
Bro. There's people, one of my salesmen, I worked with his dad. There's so many father, son, daughter, mother, son, mother,
That's
daughter.
That's huge for what it says a lot about your business.
There was an article one time that the Morning Call came and did. There was like 40 of us in a picture. Everyone's related to another person in the picture somehow.
That's cool.
Dude, absolutely insane how we do it. Like, if you're a driver and your kid wants to come and be a driver, bring them on in. You know what I mean? Well, he wants to work up in the company. But one guy I said who's one of my salesmen, whose father worked for us for many, many years, he was a driver. But he saw the potential in himself. We saw the potential in him. He said he wanted to be a driver, or he said he wanted to be a salesman. Come be a salesman. He's killing it.
Yeah.
He's absolutely killing it. He's
a lot of businesses don't do that anymore. Or
no, they don't care. They look at people like a number, bro. They're a paycheck number.
Yeah.
People don't care.
Or they'll sit there and be like, hey, we can't hire 2 family members because we had 1 incident. Of course you're going to have incidents.
Of course you're going to have fucking incidents.
Yeah.
Bro. There's going to be incidents without you hiring family members. People just they look for excuses to make their bottom line a little bit easier. You know what I mean? But I like having a comfortable work environment. That means more than anything. You know what I mean? Like having a work environment where you can, like I said, I'm vice president. I walk downstairs and I talk to these guys every day. I listen to them. Anything they need, they know I'm there. Most of these guys have my personal cell. They can text me, call me anytime. They're never bothering me. I'll do anything for them.
Yeah.
And when I say anything, man, I mean anything. Like, I bailed some of these guys out of jail, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not, they're my people.
That's old school, though. I like that you guys still do it that way.
Absolutely, bro. Give people... There's people right now working for us that have other opportunities, get other jobs. We're allowing them to use time and stuff like that to go do this, work part-time while they can and go pursue their other careers.
You got to let
people do that. We're not holding nobody
that.
Back from doing nothing.
You get so many problems when you start doing that.
People just quit. No one's giving you 2 weeks notice.
Then you're fucked.
Who's giving you 2 weeks notice nowadays? Yeah. Nobody. They're just going to bounce.
Bye.
See ya. They don't care about their resumes.
When did, and I touched on this a little bit when I was talking to you about doing projects and stuff. When did Music Fest come into play?
Dude.
And was that a big game changer for your guys' business early on? Or what year was that when Music Fest started working with you guys?
Man, I honestly can't even remember the exact year, but my grandfather basically lobbied for a super specific liquor license where you can drink on the streets of the city of Bethlehem. That is one of the most unique liquor licenses in the world that my grandfather basically I don't know how he did what he did with that, but his network was strong, very, very strong back in the day. And then Dick Yuengling was rolling out Lager, and they talked to Music Fest, put out that's Music Fest is one of the ways that Yuengling Lager, and I mean, I'm not taking any away from the Yuengling brand. They're amazing, absolutely amazing people. They built that brand super strong out there. But yeah, my grandfather actually helped him with the launch of that, and Music Fest has been going strong for us for many, many years. There's a bunch of subtle changes and nuances in how we're involved at all times, but it's always our beer.
Yeah, because I was, I
was
follow
up
the social media, and when they did Music Fest, whenever they did it last, you had like pictures of like the giant trucks rolling out. So like, what is your guys' involvement in that? I mean, how much actual beer? I mean, that's a big. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest events that goes on around here.
It depends. I'll say average. Probably like 1,000 kegs per event, but it keeps going up, man. It was prior to COVID. I think the one year was like 1,800 kegs or something like that.
I think because this year is going to be the first year it's back to
of
normal,
beer,
right?
Bro, yeah.
Because they tried to do the virtual shit. Yeah. There was like 8 people on board. I'm like, that shit ain't gonna work.
It was the Arts Quest. It was the Arts Quest board watching
YouTube.
it. Those were the only people.
Yeah.
So like that was a silly idea, but I understand they were just trying to, keep it moving.
Of
Those
course.
people at Arts Quest, they have a bunch of good ideas, man. They always try to keep stuff moving.
At least they tried.
They definitely tried to do something just to keep the name of it alive, because you don't want that the demographic on that. You should look at the studies. It's insanity, bro. A lot of people come to that, man.
Yeah,
a lot of people come to
nuts.
that.
What's funny is it's such a thing around here where people around here are like, yeah, I don't go.
Bro,
but like,
if it's Music Fest,
usually I'm on vacation, but this year I'm like, because with opening, I went out to Vegas, and that was kind of my vacation. And then I'm not really getting. I go to the beach every year. I like to sit on the beach.
Yeah.
I get into my edibles, my drinks, and like I'm good. And I need that for 7 days.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, man, you were almost burned out again.
Yeah.
So with not having that, I said to a couple of my friends, I'm like, let's do Music Fest. Let's do it.
Dude,
like, let's go. Let's Uber there. Like,
bro,
let's get
fun,
hammered.
bro. Yeah,
let's get into the food.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Just
punch
eat
a
and drink
horse
all day. Definitely. Yeah, I've unfortunately seen that happen right in front of my face.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But no, I mean, Music Fest is a good time, man. And now look at all these acts they're bringing out here.
Yeah.
This year's real good music, man.
I think one of the Marleys. Yeah. Somebody posted that. I was like, yeah.
I was like, yo, absolutely. I'm in on that.
I love.
I'm doing the whole VIP
the
experience
Marleys.
for that joint.
I got to see. I went down to Philly, and I'm trying to remember the venue. It was a smaller one.
Electric Factory?
It was might have been. It wasn't the Electric Factory. It was a different one. Was it the Trocadero or something like that?
Small in there, yeah.
And it was when Damian Marley came out with Welcome to Jamrock.
Bro,
can you imagine?
I wish. I'm jealous of this story.
Welcome to Jamrock came out, and I was like, yo, this song's fucking dope.
Yes.
And I liked the album. There were some good songs on it. So my buddy, we were working in a kitchen at the time, and we would listen to we started getting into reggae. Where like every Tuesday we'd listen to reggae, because back then on it's so crazy how much everything's changed. Back then on XM radio, they had a reggae channel. And then that's when I started really getting into reggae. So the guy I was working under was like, yo, let's go down to Philly. Fuck it. Like, let's just go. Damian Marley's. And I think, what was the other one? The Steve Marley was the other one. So anyways, at the end of it, all of the other Marleys came out, and they did fucking Bob Marley songs. And it was like Stephen Marley, Damian Marley.
Ziggy.
Dude, it was fucking crazy. And then at the very end, with everybody on stage, they did Welcome to Jamrock. And I was like, let's fucking go.
Absolutely insane.
It was dope. It was crazy. There was these 2 chicks next to me just smoke. Everyone was just smoked the entire
What year was
place
this?
out. I I was 28. So
this is a little edgy.
Yeah,
at that time.
It was not. It was not.
Edgy,
I have my
frowned
card.
upon.
I have
Yeah,
I'm medical. I have PTSD.
Yeah, a little edgy back then.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I'm sure at Music Fest this year, I'm sure the crowd will.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, when I went to Vegas and came back, there's such a filter over the Lehigh Valley where I just feel like everything's a little too PG and there's nothing adult around here at all. So I'm excited for shit like that where I'm like, cool, I can't wait till because it's not really how the area is. There is people who want adult content. There is people who want cool restaurants. There is people who want more. Like, I think it's crazy that you can't even go anywhere to like listen to a good DJ anymore.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So like for me, I can't wait till the entire place is smoked out, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Everyone's
there is a
relaxed.
fuck ton of people around here who smoke fucking weed.
Yeah, I know. Listen, it just amazes me that Philly, it's completely decriminalized. New Jersey, it's legal.
Jersey before us was crazy.
New York, it's decriminalized.
Yeah. You can literally go across the bridge.
Bro.
You can go across the bridge in Easton and get fucking edibles and fucking weed.
I'm afraid to go across the bridge to get gas now.
Yeah, there's a line.
I go across the bridge to get gas. There's a cop sitting at the corner.
Yeah.
I bust a Yui. All of a sudden, he thinks I came from the Now I'm getting pulled over because what?
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
I don't
bro.
really go over that side. And then a buddy of mine is really into Happy Dads.
Oh, okay.
And I think they're only in Jersey. I haven't
right
seen them anywhere around here.
Yeah.
I like the Nelk Boys. Not all their stuff, but I just think it's cool that those dudes are that young and built that big of a business and then tied themselves to the UFC, which you can't do.
Yeah. And I really like, honestly, seriously, they give away a lot of fucking money.
I like
shit.
Steve will do it. I like Steve will do it out of everybody.
He gives away like a lot of money to people.
His shit's crazy.
I really like that.
It's also
stuff,
crazy
man.
how he went from chugging shit and then knew that wasn't sustainable or that he would die and then switched his content and then now he's found a new and he'll switch it again, but like what he's doing now is so cool. It's so cool. Yeah,
like his friends, like
cars and stuff.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I'll be
man,
down
that
here
kind of
high
stuff.
crying to Steve will do it.
Yeah,
videos.
that kind of stuff is dope to me. You know, my friends, none of my friends, I've given cars and all types of. Man, there's stuff that only me and a few people know that only we can talk about, but that kind of stuff is near and dear to my heart. I really like those. Nelk Boys are cool.
I like
man.
the Nelk Boys, and that seltzer I do like. So
it's okay.
We go over to Jersey, but I'm not in the seltzer game.
Yeah, drink busy.
I'll try it.
Chico. Swell.
So we went over there to get him, and then he was like, "Hey, you see that line?" And I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "That's the recreational weed store," and it was blocks
right in Peaburg right there.
Yeah,
dude, I'm telling, it goes all the way. On the day it opened, I guess it was like all the way to the other bridge, like going into like the prop.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
I got my medical card, and then I was able to go down there, and then there's like a specific pen I like that I can get. They only carry one cartridge, but when I was out in Vegas, I just got a bunch of shit.
Yeah, you can just walk right in.
I'm like, cool.
Planet, whatever it was.
Yeah, so like I was just, and there was no bullshit coming back. They're not looking for that.
No.
But I just keep, like, it's just enough already. Just
TSA doesn't
just push it over.
Even TSA doesn't care if you have like consumer amounts of marijuana on you or anything like that. If an individual,
I wasn't bringing a fucking
no.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you have like some joints on you and a TSA guy gets pissed about it, he's just gonna toss them. He's not even gonna or put them right in his pocket. Like, haha, I hope this is good.
That's what
what I mean?
My buddy was like, look, he's just like, put the shit around in your suitcase or put it in your carry-on. I put it in my suitcase, and then he was like, if they go through it, more than likely a bag handler is gonna take it off. They smoke weed. But I was like, other than that, but I was like, I don't care. That's the risk I'm
the
taking.
Places we like flying to, it's legal.
Yes. Yeah. That's crazy though that PA, but whatever. But that's crazy. That's crazy being that big of a part of Music Fest. So then that takes up.
It's fun.
That's got to be crazy because you got everything else going on, and then when Music Fest ramps in, now you got. I mean, I'm sure you have it down to a science by this point.
We have it down to a science now, especially because we step back a little bit. We used to run everything beer involved at Music Fest.
That's crazy.
So I would have all my salesmen down there, plus like a sales manager, plus a couple other people, and now you're paying these guys, all day, all night. And they're servicing everything. They're changing out every keg. You got a salesman on every truck. You got a site supervisor. You got a Music Fest supervisor. Like, we were paying out huge amounts of money to our own guys just to help run this. But we've structured everything. We've scaled back a lot. And now we just basically have site managers on site, and Music Fest will run the trucks, change out the beer and everything. And we're just there to help them if anything goes wrong with the equipment, or if they need any help like that, or if we run out of beer in order to get more beer down there, or something like that. So we've stepped back our involvement a little bit as far as that goes, but we're still heavily involved in Music Fest and Arts Quest and all other aspects.
What else you guys? What else are you guys heavily involved in as far as projects outside of Music Fest? That do you get involved with other projects?
We do like Mayfair and Allentown. The Allentown Fair and stuff like that, and then some smaller stuff too. But I mean, man, a lot of this stuff pops up in the summer, man, and it's hard. It's hard to keep all the pieces moving around when you're, when it's easy to load up a truck with 60 halves, and you got to get them guys out on those trucks so that all the beers and distributors are happy. So like. We're reformulating that. We're always reformulating every aspect of this business besides like the family business aspect. You know what I mean? Everything else we're constantly being proactive about, because I'm not comfortable. I'm never comfortable. Like, I don't want to be comfortable. I like being uncomfortable. It keeps me motivated. I have ADHD. I got daddy issues, mommy issues, abandonment issues. I probably got every issue that there is in the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like staying busy.
Yeah.
And idle hands are the devil's workshop. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anytime I have to take a break because I know I'm going to burn out or I'm doing too much, that's when I get fucked up in the head.
Yeah. Because we go inside.
Like Gina will be like, I'll get wild. Saturdays we'll get wild with the fights, and then Sunday or Monday, and then she's like, whenever you take your breaks and you stop working is when you start getting fucked up.
That's why, I'll talk to some people and they'll be like, oh, well, how many days? I do this gym thing. I love the gym.
Yeah.
We all go in waves where, you go and then I'll hurt something because I'm 39 years old. And
I just got a stress fracture because I for 7 days I hiked 10 miles every day. And
how many times did you try to do a backflip on a BMX when you were a little kid? Because, dude, we did some dumbass shit. You know what I mean? As little kids that and then I started riding a motorcycle at 16 years old, dude. I was in 9 motorcycle accidents by the time I was 25. Not to mention car accidents, fights on the street, wrestling
sleeping on your friend's floor basement.
Right? Playing football for back in the day around here when they took
skateboarding, rollerblading,
sacrificing your body,
catching.
Seriously.
I was a center for football and I caught baseball. My knees are shot,
bro,
bone on bone,
bro. C5, C6, C7, they don't fucking move. L4, L5, L6, they don't move. Scoliosis, phase 3 spine degeneration. My ankle is so screwed. I needed surgery 20 years ago. It rolls to the left, my knee rolls to the right, my hip rolls to the left, my back rolls to the right, my neck rolls to the left. My body's so fucked up. I'm walking around in constant pain all the time, bro. But listen, you know what? That keeps me moving too.
Yeah.
The pain keeps me moving.
I've been going crazy. I got a stress fracture. I got back from Vegas and I'm like, you got to knock weight off. And then I started getting back into long form. And when I got back into long form, it triggered everything from when I got sober and I was running 8 miles a day because I was dating a heroin addict. I was living above a bar and stayed there for a year while being sober and watching all my friends get drunk around me.
It is not conducive to a sober lifestyle, my friend.
But I did it. I got out of that and I felt like my journey from that moment after leaving that was easy because what I did in the very first year was so hard. Everything else was downhill. And then when I did 10 years, and then in my 10th year, I just was tired. I tell everybody the simplest way to do it is if you do 50 push-ups every day, how are you going to know if you can do 100? Right. I can do 50. I got the form down. Yeah. What is the point of doing 50 every day? Going? Yeah, so it's like I wanted to test the water and stuff again. But when I was there and was doing all that shit, I was running 8 miles a day because I didn't know what to do with my body. And then when I triggered that again, I forgot that I built this business having 2 to 3 hours by myself every day, being able to think, t-shirts and all this. So I fell in love with that again, and I didn't want to stop. And Bodner's like, you're a fucking idiot. He's like, you dumb Dutchie. He's like, you're just like my wife. You're going to get hurt. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm indestructible because my back wasn't hurting. My knee wasn't hurting. And I was like, how are you going to get hurt walking? 5 miles in on day 7, what the fuck is that? Now I got to walk 5 miles back hurt, and then it doesn't go away for 3 days. I start looking into it. My mom's a nurse. She's like, you have a stress fracture. Yeah. Now I can't exercise the way I want to, which is cardio. I'll do cardio all day, all night. I can't do it now for 6 to 8 weeks. And I started getting on my bike, and then I'm like, but
low impact, brother.
Yeah, so the bike, I'll do that mountain biking and start getting into the rail trail.
Just instead of 8 miles, you're going to have to do 30.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Dude, let's go, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's fucking go, bro. 100%. I'm a psychopath still. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, so I get that attitude of always staying busy, and that was and I said it to you earlier when we were talking, when everyone's like, your plate's so much full, how are you gonna run this restaurant, how are you gonna run a TV studio, how are you gonna do that? And I'm gonna be like, well, I'm gonna take shit off my plate that ain't making money, and be like, cool, well, I waste my time with this, I'm going to put this over here. Okay, well, what if somebody wants to use the studio? All right, well, then they're going to have to pay a studio fee because this is a TV studio now. This isn't a basement. And then everything I'm going to do, I'm like, this isn't going to be any more work.
Right.
Because if you work as hard as you possibly can every fucking moment until you have to take that downtime.
You don't even fucking realize it.
You don't even realize you're just doing it. You're just doing it. Sometimes I ran into somebody and they go, I can't even keep up with your fucking posts. And I'm like, that's my real life. That is not saved photos.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. Now we're in Vegas.
As I'm moving.
This. Now we're here.
As I move. Yeah.
And that's crazy because I'll be like, all right, well, I posted all this shit all week. I'm doing pop-ups and I'm like, oh yeah, here's the podcast for Friday.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then I'm like, then when you take a step back.
Hey y'all, I took 13 hours and edited this, by the way, just so you know.
And then it's like, then when I showed you that video.
Is 13 accurate?
It's like when I showed you that video, I'm like, oh, this was two years I've been working on this, but now after 2 years, I know how to get this done in 6 months to 3 months. And it's like, now I'm going to start turning this around. And it's like, I am 100% obsessed with being an absolute lunatic with the only time I've ever not been distracted is when I was in Vegas, and I texted my mom and she said, how is it? And I said, I've never been so distracted. I'm not distracted. And for somebody with ADD that grew up before Adderall and all that shit where everybody's now fucking that has it and they just pump people through it when that was like an actual thing going on. It's like, that was a time when like, I've been dealing with this shit my entire life, and doing work this way is the only way that stops me from feeling how I did in high school, feeling how I did lost. Like, I need to be like this all the fucking time, almost to a fault, but like
high school wasn't built for us.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm not trying to outwork anyone. This is just the output that I need to do. And when I run into other people like Zach and people like yourself and these other business owners, it's comforting because I'm like, cool, I'm not the only fucking lunatic running around. Because like, I'll see you where you're like at the gym, riding my bike. Now you're doing horses at work. then you're your dog. And I'm like, all right, this makes sense to me. But to other people like,
see it and they think,
they're like,
honestly,
you're crazy.
No,
you're
people
crazy.
literally have said to me, dude, why do you post stuff that you like? What do you mean when I... No, I really rode my bicycle to the gym after work. Then I came home and I showered after that. And then I was at the barn with my daughter shoveling shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not... I'm not trying to, I like documenting sometimes things for myself to allow myself to see how far I've come. Because there were also points in my life when like after my dad died, I didn't live a savory lifestyle. After my divorce, that really screwed me up. I didn't live a savory lifestyle. And like I said to you, it's only recently that I've like gained enough self-worth and love to realize that I'm actually proud of myself now.
Yeah.
I'm actually very proud of who I've become, who I want to be, what I'm willing to do to get there. And it's not like I'm not taking any integrity or character away. I want to be a good person doing what I'm doing to get there. You know what I mean? Like,
my therapist said to me once, and it'll probably hit home with you, is she's like, you set a finish line, and then when you get to it, you move it out
10 miles further. What do you mean?
You move it out further.
I don't even get halfway there, and I'm like...
She'll be like, can you give yourself credit? And I'm like, in my head, I'm not there.
Trying.
Next, when I go up there, I'll give myself a pat on the back a little bit more because I'll be caught up to where everybody said I was crazy for taking the risk. Now I'll be making the same money as everybody else who went to school and has a job. Now I'll be able to buy a house in a couple years because everything's like, that risk was super wild to take, but I'll give myself a pat on the back when, like what we were saying, when I buy a bungalow in fucking Florida. And when I'll be like, all right,
I did it.
There you go.
Boom.
But like, I don't like giving myself credit for doing shit. One, because I'm not doing it for credit. I'm doing it because it's a manic, impulsive thing that I have to fucking do,
ADHD,
and then I put it
it
into a thing. So it's like, I don't want to give myself credit either because I don't know when that's going to stop. I don't know if it'll stop when I'm 50 or 60. I don't know if it's going to stop
you can't
next
let that
year.
fire start burning,
And I don't think it'll ever go
how
away.
does that fire stop burning?
But we'll be in therapy and I'll smile a little bit and I'll be like, you happy? I said, there it is. I said, I did something. I said, I'll give myself credit for that. But I said, not enough credit is done because there's still work to do on the table, because what I envision as this whole thing being is not, there's never an end. Because like I could easily open up that bagel shop, close this whole thing down, and just be okay and pay bills and have an apartment and just own a business and then try and open another business. I don't want to do that. I want to take the business and a TV studio and I want to combine it all, and I want to bring my apparel back. And like, there's so much fire burning underneath me for businesses that failed. And I'm sure it's similar to you where you were describing that guy where like, anybody gets a hold of this guy. It's like that passion to run that clothing company has never stopped.
Yeah.
It's I posted the other day, I go, this all started with a t-shirt at a bar.
Bro.
At a bar in Nazareth. It started as a t-shirt. Now I'm opening a restaurant. I have a podcast, which to me is successful. I don't have to get a style award to know that. Right. I don't have to pay somebody to get a fucking trophy. No. I don't have to do any of that shit because it's like, I know what I have. And you get to a point where I'm like, man, like it, from somebody that never gave themselves self-worth, and it sounds similar to what you went through, to fill that void up is very difficult. But I feel like we're both at a point where like, I'm like, nah, all right.
This year it happened for me, bro.
Yeah.
This year I was like, Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Finally,
yeah.
39 years.
Yeah.
39 years. I finally got the hand all the way back there and patted myself. I'm fucking proud, man. I can't.
But it's also, if you pat on the back too early, you can fuck up a lot of shit too. And I watched people pat themselves back.
Nah, for sure.
Like, overly pat themselves on the back, and they didn't put in the work, and then nothing came out of it. So there was always that where I've watched people build businesses and then fail, and then you see what they do and you learn from it. But there's also a part of like, yo, that could be easily be you.
But I feel like you and I have a good like handle on ego. You know what I'm saying? I ain't shit. I'm not shit.
No. I was at a family function on Saturday, and all these people wanted to talk about what I was doing, and I was so uncomfortable.
People
I was
start
like,
talking.
I don't want to talk to any of you about
when
this.
people introduce me as, oh, this is Tony Gallo, he owns Banko Beverage.
I hate it.
There's been times when, depending on who introduced me like that, I'll shake the person's hand and be like, all right, guys, it was very nice to meet you. And I like it because I feel so uncomfortable. Now there's expectations and like all types of shit.
I met my buddy's brother-in-law, and we went to the Goat, and we had food, and then we came back here, and, you know, to me, the studio is, it used to be a thing when people would get to see it, but I have the new one built in my head already. So to me, this is just an apartment. I know it's whoever doesn't come down here, this is really different for them. So he was like, what the fuck do you do? And then I was just like, stuff. And then his brother's like, well, and he started getting into the whole story. He's like, well, Mike didn't want to drink. You know, Mike quit drinking and started this t-shirt company. And then my buddy, who I love him to death, Tim Carpenter, is in the back of the fucking room, and he's known me since we were 11. And he just goes, he don't want to talk about it. And I just walked away.
Of course, right.
But like, I don't. No. Like, you could come down here, and it's mi casa, su casa, and there's a lot we can do because we're underground, and I can turn that fight up all the way, and we can get fucked up down here, and you could stay over. We could do all that, and I will give you the shirt off my back. I don't want to talk about any of it.
I'll talk about business here and there with people that I could possibly, you know, we could gain network and business relationships through. But like just meeting people, I'd really rather stay away from it because switches flip when people find out who you are and what you do and things like that. And depending on if they found out how you built it, or people are very judgmental. And I just, you know, I just learn me for who I am, my character and the integrity that I place on the conversation that we're having at the time. You know what I mean? I'm not the type of person that ever like hush any way or anything like that. Unless, you know, you're being a douchebag, then you're going to get that react. You already know how we'll act, you know? Don't be a douche, don't get a douche. You know what I'm saying? But the whole thing is, subtle nuances. Subtle nuances. Being humble.
A lot of stuff crossed over with this. What I knew it was going to be a good podcast, and I knew when anyone comes down here and we talk for 45 minutes and we didn't turn anything on, I know it's going to rip, but I've always been interested in hearing the story on how it started, and then we've had a couple conversations, and I really wanted to peel back, and I know there's more to it, but to grow up the way you grew up, and then for you to point that out, that was such a pivotal point in the history of this podcast, and because there's always shows where somebody points something out, and the more you do this and the more I get comfortable, the more you get people to be honest. But then when you get two honest people to sit down to each other, you start having really good fucking podcasts. And what this is for and why I like doing it is because I want somebody listening to be pushed to do something further. I want somebody who listens who grew up in a family business and then people made them feel like shit because they were handed everything when they don't even know the situation of how any was growing up. But I mean, what an awesome story to have just worked through the entire thing, and then for you to have been the ground person all the way up to what you're doing now and leaving and doing music and being successful with that and these other ventures and everything you learned. It's pretty remarkable how far you've actually come when you could have had any excuse to just fuck off and do anything you really wanted to do.
Oh, we could have sold for millions.
Yeah.
Oh, we could have sold for millions, and everyone could have just did whatever they did, and I would have been successful. I would have just built what I've always wanted to do. One of many. I would have probably done 10 fucking things. You know what I mean? I'd have brought Machines and Mayhem back as DAD. Sorry, Ross. Sorry, bro. DAD. You know what I mean? But I would have done something. I would have made it work. I could have cashed out years ago before it was even close to bankruptcy, when it was worth a lot of money and people were throwing offers at us. I said no then. We got close to bankruptcy, had huge offers. I said no then. And now you wouldn't even be able to throw an offer at me.
Yeah.
Now we're probably worth more than what the last couple offers were, and I love my people. I would never lead anyone astray. I would never cast anyone aside. This is a family business, and I'm going to keep it running exactly this way, only getting better. Only getting better, only expanding, only treating my people better.
It's awesome, man.
And shout out to my mom, first and foremost. Shout out to my mom, because if she didn't trust me to do this shit, I don't even know, man. I probably would have left again.
It's important to have that support.
But she, like, organically, over the last, like, 5-6 years, like, organically, she never even said, like, I want you to start running it or anything like that. Like, I've only realized it over the last 2 years that she really, like, kind of pushed me into pushing myself. And so now she's the face, and she still has the final say. That's still the big boss lady, you know what I mean? But she allows me and my GM and our team to run the dailies, and bro, it's so challenging, so stressful, and so much fun.
Well, it takes a crazy person.
That's
how
fun,
I am.
bro.
Everyone's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And
I love problems.
Yeah, I'm like we talked earlier. It's problem solving.
I got to solve it.
Problem solving.
I got to solve it.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah,
math wasn't fun.
If only a teacher saw.
Yeah,
that.
math wasn't fun. Yeah, they said we got ADHD and we're all fucked up and we need Ritalin and special classes. No, you need to put me in the class where motherfuckers are trying to start businesses, okay? Because that's where I'm gonna thrive. You know, that's where you would have thrived. That's where we would have thrived.
Yeah. I got cut out early, and they did a work release program, pretty much like prison. They had no problem taking my mom's money for Notre Dame, but they were like, "Oh, you go to half days.
Yeah.
Is it going to be half the money? No."
They ushered me to the side, and then once I spun back around because I didn't want to, I didn't want to get a GED. I wanted my diploma. I would have been like the only Gallo or Banco to not get a diploma. You know what I mean? I think I might have been one of the only ones.
And when you're a kid, sometimes you don't give a fuck about that. But I think later in life,
I don't want to let my family down. And then my dad died, so I'm like, I'm not gonna. There's no way I'm getting a GED. My dad got his diploma. Like, he was a fuck up too in college, and afterwards, like, he ran around and he did his thing and then made his life right at the end, and had a good family, raised a good family, and did his thing and made his way up at Banco with no handouts. My dad just started working at Banco and became sales manager.
Yeah.
Met my mom and married her, and my dad gave me a great life. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I wasn't. Wait, where were we? Spin back. Oh, I didn't want to spin back and not have that high school diploma. I know he's not here, and I don't exactly believe in like a next realm or anything like that. Whatever's going on in our life is whatever, but I still couldn't have him upset with me. Like, that was too much, even at like 16 years old, to not get my diploma. So I spun back around, and then they just threw me in. Like, you could pass these classes with your fucking eyes closed.
Yeah.
Like taking a nap. I had like straight A's and I did nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did to me. And then when I went to go to college, they were like, hey, none of that was real.
I was at NAC, bro.
I was at NAC. They're like, you got to take all of your high school classes together.
Listen, the only place I gained knowledge at NAC was networking and sales.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny. I have a lot of friends who that's how they started learning numbers and sales.
Yeah, like,
you just break it down and it's like, oh, this is math.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as selling burgers.
Yeah.
Like, once we started breaking down burgers, I'm like, oh, this is very similar to just
yeah, right. Same thing. Right. So that's all NAC taught me, and then once I really latched on to Banco though after that. Like you said, like, even before I left, like, I really latched on when I ended up on the trucks after it was my summer job, and I really just started paying attention because I'm like, man, if I'm gonna fucking be in a position to be in the driver's seat one day and hold that wheel, I better know what the fuck I'm doing when my hands are on that wheel.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people kind of pass those moments up, or they're just constantly looking for it, and I never knew what anything would come out of Never Again. And then when when we started doing the t-shirts, and then it's just like, I just kind of latched on, like you said. And it's like, when you latch on to something like that, and especially when you're an over compulsive, like, ADD person, like, you start really like just digging through, like, that's where I learned how you could set up an idea, and then, because it was like, oh, let's make our first t-shirt, and then I would sell out of it, and I was like, let's make another t-shirt, and then you have money sitting there, and I'm like, this is a business, and then you just start narrowing into it, and then the more I kept doing that, and then I was just like, well, let's do this, let's do that, and then it's like, if I wouldn't have overly obsessed over that moment and latched onto that, I don't know where my life would be. I don't know if I would have went down a road of where I would have just been a fucking drunk fuck up who used to be funny, and then now I just work at a fucking factory, or like,
I'd have been slinging beer at my own goddamn company.
Yeah, like, I didn't know what it would be like, and that's why I always love having people on, and your story was dope, and I definitely want to bring you back on to do the lounge show,
sure.
And there's a lot of cool stuff we could do together, but I do want to thank you for coming on, and I want to give you a chance to kind of go over like where anybody could get in touch with if they want a job, if they want to follow the social media, if they're, what events are coming up besides the music fest. But I kind of want to give you, to wrap everything up, a plug of like where Banco is and what you guys are going to be doing over the summer.
Summer, honestly, we are absolutely slammed. So summer, we are just basically focused on getting the beer on the trucks, getting the beer out the door, trying to manipulate new products into our sales strategy as time goes on. And then Music Fest is huge for us. It's still, even though that we don't put a lot of people in there, we still move and shake for a couple weeks before, because you have to make sure all the equipment's ready and working.
You're probably months out.
Oh, dude.
Start working.
We're right now, because we're in the process of private picnics and stuff like that. We still do those events for people. And then, I'm sure you always see, like, I'll send all types of non-alcoholic stuff to like home bases stuff, or if my guy Nano at Made in Easton, or there's a million other things like that I do behind the scenes that I'm always trying to help people with. There's tons of golf tournaments for like cancer and stuff that we do with. There's a bunch of kids organizations we help. So there's always all that stuff moving behind the scenes. And then as the year progresses on, we just really try to keep with them. Then we ramp up our sales strategy as we go into the fall and winter, because liquor sales take over a little bit when it gets cold, because people stop popping beer outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, we're just focused right now on growing our products. And that was part of doing this. We've never really pushed Banko Beverage Company.
Yeah.
Banko Beverage Company has never really been advertised too much anywhere. You know what I mean? But I just wanted people to know that, that's how anyone that drinks beer, if you're in 13 counties and you're drinking, Heineken, Miller Lite, especially the ABE, if you're drinking Heineken, Miller Lite, Guinness, Diageo, there's a lot of brands out there, hundreds of SKUs in my warehouse. It steps through Banko, goes to your local D, goes to your bar, goes to you guys. Then all that point of sale, all that comes from us. All that point of sale that you see in bars and stuff, signs, anything like that, beer stuff, that all comes from us. So then
that's fun. Yeah,
we distribute all that. We have to buy a certain amount of that per year, and then we do a bunch of giveaways all year long. And we're always interested in. I'm huge on donating to good causes. I'm big on donating to good causes. I usually don't care what people ask for, especially like local schools, or like I said, Poe with Home Base. He also has like the Push Ahead program, which I just think it is an amazing program. And he and I have been in talks for actually building something, building like building a home base. For it. See what I did there, Poe? And taking some steps with that. That's a lot. Those are a lot of inner workings there. We've had a couple conversations over this the past couple years, but that's one aspect. And then Nano and I have spoken about plenty of stuff. Nano at Made in Easton. I'm gonna plug these guys too. And we do a bunch of stuff for the kids and things like that. And I want to keep doing more like that as I grow and I'm able to personally. You know what I mean? A lot of my stuff's invested in Banko and a lot of the surrounding aspects. So as I grow personally, I would like to become a little bit more philanthropical as the time arises. And the money shows its face. So you're going to see a lot of more Banko stuff. And whatever LLC I end up coming up with, a lot of places around here.
I'm excited.
Very soon. Yeah. I've got a lot of plans in the works. It's just that I've been super, super dialed in on Banko for like the last 6-7 years. Really dialed in. Once I can get the time away from that, my kids are a little bit older. My daughter's about to be 16. My son's 14. So
they're gonna be driving.
Anyway, so
my parents made me wait.
Once 19. They get, she might. I trust my daughter, the boy. Sorry, Anthony, I love you, son, but I might ride shotgun for a couple years.
Yeah.
But once they get a little bit older, I'll be able to. I won't be spread as thin with doing stuff that I gotta, like my fatherly duties, and though I'll miss that a lot, I'll be able to concentrate a lot more of my time on personal growth and
then you'll be taking
business.
What you learned in the last 7 to 10 years at Banko dialed in. Now you'll take that and put it into any kind of project.
If I start something, it's gonna do very well.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. Having that knowledge and
it's
being able to say that to you. Being able to say that to you.
Yeah.
Last year I wouldn't have been able to say to you, if I start something, it's gonna work.
I used to not tell people what I did. Because I used to work part-time, and then I wouldn't really bring up never again. I'd be like, I'm just making cheesesteaks.
Right.
I just do this. Now, it's like I'll go somewhere, and someone will be like,
proud of your product.
Yeah, it's weird.
And
it's
yourself.
weird, because people will be like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm about to open a restaurant, and I have this podcast, and, and then I have an apparel company, and then you just start talking, and they're like, what? And then I'm like, yeah. And then I walk away, and I'm like, how? Because before I used to be like, well, I would be introduced, well, Michael's trying to run an apparel company. He's got it in a couple skate shops, and like your friends would almost overly sell you, where now it's just like I just kind of have this thing down where it's like, yep, it's an apparel company and it grew into a podcast. I also do food. We're doing some bigger projects, but it's like, it's cool. It's not cool, but it's like, it's fucking weird, because I remember being the guy who didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. Or when I remember sometimes people would ask what I was doing, and I would get to an explanation where I'd be like, yo, you just been talking for 5 minutes about nothing. And then I'm like, what the fuck are you saying to this dude? And then like, now it's like, I undersell my stuff. Because like you said too, it's like you overshow your cards. Now people want shit from you. Oh, you're a network. Oh, you got a TV studio. Like I catch that shit fast now too. I'm really good with weeding out bullshit, and I'm really good with like, that's the thing which I'm sure is probably a big thing with you, is like, you've been on the street, you've been through some bullshit, you've been through some people who like, when you get involved with working with somebody and you believe what they can do, and then you see that was just a bunch of bullshit, that's really easy then for you to see it in other people. So in the last couple of years, I've only had one person, but then I caught him. I caught it early, and I was like, nah, fuck you, dude. And I like cut everything off. But like, if you show too much of that card now, people
then it's a group project, right?
People think they can pipeline their dream through you without any hard
project,
work.
Right?
Well,
then
you
it's a
did
group
the work.
project.
Yeah.
Then it's a group project, right? Because you're the one that already did the work. So now I'm gonna hop on your coattails.
I had a dude come down
and just ride that wave until I can hop off onto my own wave.
I had this clown come down here, and he always copies what I'm doing. He's up the street. I don't need to say his name because I talk enough shit on him on the late night show. But he came down here and he's like, well, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I'm gonna do this, that, and that. And he goes, well, I can do that with you. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I could co-host that. Then we can interview it. And I'm like, all right, well, what the fuck are you doing? What did you do?
Where'd you come from?
So then he did some shady shit, and that was the first time I had to call a lawyer, and he was like using my name to make money and was lying to people that he was involved in the podcast. And then now he just started his own thing, and he does what I told him I'm gonna do, and I don't care because what he's doing is not sustainable because he's gonna fuck it up. But like I learned from that. And then that's like, then the next person that came in and wanted to, like, what's funny is like people will try and use me for the network when most of the time, if you just ask me, I'll just genuinely help you because I know what it's like to be stuck. You didn't have to fucking go behind my back and try and do some shady shit. You could have just been like I had a guy who called me yesterday and he's like, hey man, I'm getting into the pop-ups and do you think that you could help me? So I called him on the ride to my brother's because sometimes I'm like, it's a 15-minute ride. I can give somebody 15 minutes. I remember what it was like when I didn't get 15 minutes from anybody.
Nobody took me
so I
seriously.
called him and he told me his idea. I'm like, yeah, I think that would work. And he's just like, well, would you be into like me making you some food? You want to hang out and feed me? I don't fucking care. That's not work to me. And then I was like, look, these are the things that you need in order to get started. I don't know too much outside of that because I'm opening brick and mortar. Dude, the guy was so fucking grateful, but he just asked for help.
A little bit of
that
advice.
Was it. Don't fucking come in here and try and be this fake person and do all this shit and then like, you know, but I don't care because those people end up fucking themselves up.
Yeah, but guys like us that aren't afraid to craft organically or start over, I'm not afraid to give anyone the blueprint that I learned.
No, because I learned that early too.
I'm not afraid to give anyone my blueprint.
Yeah.
Just because you got the blueprint doesn't mean you got the right fucking brains to do it, or the testicular fortitude to follow through.
And like that was one of the things, and I'll wrap up on this, is like what I learned, and I'm sure what you learned is like you don't have me.
That's the point blank period.
I could give you this studio and I'll produce the show for you. You don't have me.
Hand it right to you.
You don't have me. And when I finally got to a point where like, and it wasn't within the last 2 years, I've realized you don't have me to do this. And then I'm like, oh, well, like people do fuck with your show. People do listen to your show because it's you. People do listen to the show because of the guests you choose. People do like your food because you're not just doing everything everybody else is and you're going out of your way to find shit that like is going to help somebody out fucking that way that's getting no social media instead of the entire valley just constantly going to the same fucking restaurant being like, well, I stopped here, and then everyone's like, well, follow that person. Well, it's just it's a fucking human centipede.
It is a human centipede.
It's a human centipede.
Correct,
and
yes.
and it's like I like going out in the middle of fucking nowhere and being like, dude, I found this fucking bodega fucking selling chicken sandwiches.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Best chicken sandwich I ever had.
Or like not even bodegas, like because they're not bodegas,
Right.
The general stores.
You're right though.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I really enjoyed this. We should definitely do it again. like I said, thank you for coming on. I'll have all of his social media and everything plugged in the bottom of this. And if you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it's neveragainstudio.com. That has everything. That has the apparel, that has the audio, that has the video. You can literally go to that website and not leave it, and you can watch all the content. If you're a person who doesn't do that shit online, you can go to YouTube, subscribe to that. We're almost to a point where we're going to start monetizing it. Patreon's coming. Neveragainstudio.com. We have apparel. I'm definitely going to be getting into projects with this guy.
100%.
This has been something I've been wanting to get to for a while. So thank you so much for coming on, man. This is going to be this is a blast. We're almost at 2 hours. I'm going to get you
That's
out of
awesome.
Later.
Later.
That went so
2
good.
hours.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. And we wouldn't have stopped.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.